All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are going to talk about Kevin Durant and the likelihood of him being traded after this season. So, Brian Windhorst, NBA insider on ESPN, he talked about the chances that Durant could be traded after the year. And he said they're going to trade KD, and he knows that. He said they're going to trade him, and he knows that. There's been a couple of opportunities where he could have criticized it, or yeah, there's a couple of opportunities where he could have criticized them for trying to trade him. He has not done that. He's been very professional about this, and I expect that to continue throughout the rest of the season. He's going to try and win every game. He's out there, and then in the offseason, he sort of gave himself a little ad there. He's like, whatever team gets me, I'm going to make a difference. I'm still in my prime. I think he's handled this very appropriately. Now, going back to the trade deadline, the Warriors tried to acquire him, and he declined that trade. And then the Warriors pivoted and they went and they got Jimmy Butler. But he wanted to see this through with the Suns. He wanted to finish this year with the Suns, try to make the playoffs, and, see what happens. But right now, and especially with what happened last night, because they lost again, and they're now, I think they're 27 and 32 on the season. Yeah, they're 27 and 32. They lost to the Pelicans, who have 16 wins now on the season. The Pelicans have been a major disappointment too. The Suns in their last 10 games, if you don't know this, you probably do. They are 2 and 8 in their last 10 games. And do you want to know who those two wins came against? They came against the Bulls and the Jazz. That's it. And those aren't good teams. And right now, when you look at the big picture, they're 3.5 games back of a play-in spot behind the Kings. Right now, this team does not look like they're making the playoffs. I wanted to get back to what Brian Windhorst was saying. So he also said, and look, I know that the Warriors wanted Durant. It didn't work out. I didn't want to be there. The Warriors are doing great too. They're doing just fine. KD is setting himself up for his last act. I think everybody's intentions are crystal clear. So he really feels like Durant is going to get traded. And if he does, I mean, what a disappointment. The Suns gave up a lot to get him. They traded, like 4 players? They traded 4 first-round picks, and then I think there was another pick involved in it too to get Durant. And then you went and you got Bradley Beal, and you gave up a lot to get him, and it just hasn't worked out. It has not worked out. They got swept last year by the Timberwolves, right? Got knocked out by them. I think the year before that, they lost to Denver in the playoffs. And now it just looks like they're not even going to make the playoffs. So yeah, so they were 4th in the Western Conference a couple years ago, and yeah, they lost. Actually, no, they lost to the Clippers. Denver was the. Oh wait, no, they beat the Clippers. No, they lost to. Yeah, they did lose to the Nuggets. They lost to the Nuggets, and then last year they got swept by the Timberwolves. But yeah, it's been like a slow decline for them. So they lost the NBA Finals to the Bucks. Then they lost in the semifinals, back-to-back years. Then they lost in the first round. Now they're not even going to make the playoffs. And when they lost in the semifinals, the year after losing the finals, they were 64 and 18. Now that was without Durant, but and we saw this with the Nets too. You gave up a lot to get, you know, these players to come over. Well, Durant they ended up bringing in, they signed him. They signed him and they signed Kyrie. But they went out and they got Harden and they thought, all right, we got this big three. Let's see how many championships we can win, and they didn't win a single one. And all three of them barely played together. And now Harden, he just continues to bounce around. He went to the Sixers, and now he's on the Clippers. It's amazing how many times these players switch teams. And Durant's going to end up going to his, what is it now? This is going to be his fifth team if he leaves the Suns. Unless he ends up going back to OKC, which I made a joke about that. But who knows? And he makes a lot of money. Now, I do think you're still getting a very good player. Durant could still play. It's just everywhere he goes, it's just there's always drama. There's always drama. And then he ends up wanting out. Right now on the season, Durant's having a good year. He's played in 46 games. He's averaging 26.9 points per game, 6.1 rebounds, 4.2 assists. He's 36 already, which, he's nearing the end too, but he's still playing very well. But it's just, when is it going to end with these players? But like I said, whoever ends up getting him is going to get a very good player. But you don't want to give up a ton. Because then you end up being like the Suns and you give up a lot of these players. And, you have this big three with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal. But, the supporting cast is, kind of been an issue. And Bradley Beal's been a disappointment because he was coming off the bench this year. And it's just, right now, the way this season's going for the Suns, I'd be surprised if they end up making it into the play-in. I mean, they really got to get it going. But, it's also, they could trade Durant. I don't think they should trade Devin Booker. I saw that's also a possibility. I don't think they should do that. I think you keep him because that's the cornerstone of your franchise. He's been there for so long. Why are you going to trade him? Durant you could trade because Durant's older and, try to get something back for him. But it's just amazing, from the Nets to the Suns. I mean, these teams had bright futures. And they traded that all away because they were like, hey, we could get this superstar and we could try to win now. And it just ended up not panning out. And now, the Suns, they're going to be in rebuild mode. Look at the Nets. They're still trying to figure it out. And I don't know. It's an interesting conversation. But, I mean, if the Suns were trying to trade him mid-season, they're going to try to trade him at the end of the year. And Durant's going to probably have a say on where he wants to go. Because, if that trade to the Warriors wasn't made known to him, then, who knows? But he's going to want to go elsewhere. He wants to finish on his terms. And we'll see what that team ends up being. I was looking at the possible destinations. I saw the Rockets could be a team. The Thunder I really think would be interesting, but I don't know. Would they want to do that? I mean, he could be the missing piece depending on what they do this year. I mean, if they win the finals, then, I wouldn't consider that. But let's say they have another early round exit. Sorry, holding back a sneeze. Apologize. And it happens at least once. We've been good lately, but it's just this one, we're good though. Anthony's saying Dallas in the chat. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that. Look at what they just did with Luka. They got Anthony Davis, you got Kyrie, you got Klay Thompson. I don't think Dallas is trading for Kevin Durant. I don't think it's going to happen. So you trade away Luka and then you bring in Durant. So now you got all these guys that, you know, well, not to say that they're washed, but it's becoming an older team. Klay Thompson's not the same player, although, the other night against the Lakers, he looked like vintage Klay with, the few threes that he hit in a row. And Kyrie could still ball. Anthony Davis constantly gets hurt. And then you got Durant. So then it would become the Nets 2.0 with Kyrie and Kevin Durant. I'm not doing that. But I think it's really it has to be a team that Durant is the missing piece to. Like, Durant can't be the guy. He's got to be a complementary piece to an extent. Because, he's on the older side. He doesn't have that ability to single-handedly carry a team like he used to. And it's just because it's an age factor. But he can still play. You just need to have that supporting cast around him. And, we'll see what ends up happening. It's going to be something to keep an eye on in the offseason. But, yeah, his days are numbered in Phoenix. That's what it looks like right now. Anthony's also saying Milwaukee. I'd unless they did a Giannis Kevin Durant swap, which again really wouldn't make sense to me because who knows how long Giannis is going to stay in Milwaukee. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting how it plays out. But let me know what you guys think. Where do you think Durant could potentially end up? Let me know in the comments. We did talk about the Warriors briefly, but I guess we'll take a look at the NBA scores from last night. So the Warriors won again. They won again. They beat the Magic. And Steph Curry had 56 points last night. He went off. And the Warriors just continue to win. Jimmy Butler only had 5 points. Last couple games he really hasn't really done much. He had 6 points the other night against the Hornets. And then he only had 5 against the Magic. But Steph Curry, 16 of 25 shooting, 12 of 19 from 3. Warriors are playing some good basketball right now. They're now 7th in the Western Conference. And they're only a half game behind the Clippers. So if they get past them, they will not be a playing team. And the way they're playing, they're 7-3 in their last 10 games. They've won 5 in a row. They keep playing like this, they could slowly work themselves up the standings here in the last month or so. Dallas won last night. Kyrie Irving, 25 points. Klay Thompson, 18 points. I want to see this team get healthy. If they can get the rest of their guys back, including Anthony Davis, let's see what this team can do post-Luka. It's going to be interesting. Lakers won again, 111-102. Speaking of Luka, he had 21 points last night, went 6 of 20 from the field, 1 of 9 from 3. Austin Reeves had 23 points, 33 points from LeBron. Jackson Hayes had 10 points. Once again, another night where 4 out of the 5 starters for the Lakers had double-digit points. So, and I believe Anthony Edwards also got thrown out of the game. My friend was saying. I did not watch the game last night. Oh, yeah, so Anthony Davis was ejected with 5:27 remaining in the third quarter after picking up his second technical foul. He threw the ball into the stands after being ejected. And if both technical fouls are upheld, he will be suspended 1 game for picking up 16 technicals this season. No, so that's not good. Not a good look. But the Lakers get the win, and they are right now the 4th seed in the Western Conference. And they're only a game behind Denver and a game and a half behind Memphis. So we've talked about this. Those 2 and 3 seeds, they're up for grabs. The Lakers could definitely pass those teams because the Nuggets lost last night. They lost to the Bucks 121-112. 4 out of their 5 starters all had double-digit points. Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, Michael Porter Jr., and Christian Vaughn. But The Bucks had all 5 of their starters score in the double digits. Giannis had 28, Brook Lopez 22, Kyle Kuzma had 16, Damian Lillard 19, and Taurean Prince had 10. So Bucks get the win. And then we talked about, of course, the Suns losing to the Pelicans. And we got some NBA action tonight. A lot of teams playing. Lakers Clippers play tonight. You got the Pistons taking on the Nuggets. So we'll see if that winning streak can continue. And then you also have, the top 2 teams in the Eastern Conference going at it. The Cavaliers and the Celtics. And the Knicks played the Grizzlies. So some good games tonight. We'll see what happens there as we move along here. But we're going to take our next break now. And then when we come back, we will talk about the franchise tag. Trey Smith received the franchise tag of the Kansas City Chiefs, and we'll talk about who else could potentially get the franchise tag. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast.